Inner talk. Be careful and be very aware of how you speak to yourself. Your inner conversations with yourself, and be extremely careful on what you tell to your children, because these things stay in your head. No, they stay in the back of your subconscious mind and they stick with you. Now, I wasn't a believer in this until I read the book by Neville Goddard, The Power of Awareness. And what you say and how you feel on the inner comes out. It reflects on your outer being. So, for example, the other day, I told my daughter, I said, they stole her coat from her class. She forgot it, and someone took her coat, and she had her house keys in there, the keys to the apartment. And when I found out she didn't have her keys and how she lost it, I says, well, you're irresponsible. That little thing right there, after I said it, I caught myself. I said, man, I'm better than this. I should be more aware of what I tell, especially a growing teenager, a growing child. You have to be very careful what you tell them. And, when I was younger, I used to say things to myself like, oh, I'm stupid, or I made a lot of mistakes. Man, how stupid am I? Or I'll never do this. I would tell myself these things all the time because I was always making mistakes, and, based on relationships and based on just decisions, and, me dropping out of school, and I just never finished the job. And I say, I started this transformation in my life like 3 years ago, right before the pandemic. And I started reading books. I started doing the self-development, just reading certain books. And another book that also woke me up to this theory of inner talk was The Four Agreements. And it's like you cast a spell on yourself. You cast a spell on someone by telling someone something, and it stays in their head. Maybe they'll blow it by, but it's how you take it, and it's very powerful. I mean, it's very powerful, and me growing up in the 80s in Brooklyn, in Bedford-Stuyvesant, it was a gift and a curse, but I learned a lot. And there was no cell phones, there was nothing. So like my parents, or my grandmother, I was raised by my grandmother, and she would tell me, hey, just go outside. And to my luck, most of the guys, kids, I was maybe like 9, 10 years old, out there hanging out in the summertime, playing skilly, riding my bike. But most of the kids around, they were older. They were teenagers. So me being the youngest, I was subject to a lot of verbal abuse. And they would tell me, man, you a fat piece of crap. Why would you finish? Why you like going to school? I mean, these guys were like very influential. What I call them friends, whatever. They were just kids making mistakes, man. They were just guys out there, just being them. And that was sticking to my head. That will always stay with me. And until I reflect back from my 20s into my 30s, a lot of those things stuck with me, but me not knowing, how this works. And when I read those books, it kind of enlightened me. So right before the pandemic, I was weighing about 280 pounds, right? I went to the doctor. Doctor gave me a letter, it gives you your statistics, and it said obese. I'm like, man, me obese? I play a lot of sports, and it's like, man, it was never like this. And, I was able to lose 70 pounds after I changed my thinking, changed my inner talk. And we'll go over that in other videos, how I lost the weight, and I will share my plan with you. Like I said, I'm here to provide value to everybody who subscribes, who listens, who watches, shares, likes. But quick little story, when I was younger, these group of guys, they took me on a bike ride, right? It was to the Williamsburg Bridge and over the Williamsburg Bridge, right? So we all ran together, maybe like 7, 8 of us. And when we rode over the bridge, right? Next thing you know, I turn around and they're gone. They go back. So this is my first time taking a trip out of like the radius of where I live. So I'm stuck in Lower East Side Manhattan, Delancey Street. I says, wait a minute, man, I gotta get back. So I'm crying. I'm losing myself. So I ride back over the bridge and I sit back and I say, there's no one around to help me. But I said, you know what? I remember this because I used to drive with my uncles in the car. And thank God, them being at the time, having no cell phones and me being, all with my attention on the cell phone, I watched the road and I would act like I'm driving because I'm a good driver. I learned how to drive by watching my uncles, me being in the front seat and just driving with them. And I remembered landmarks. And so once I got off the Williamsburg Bridge on the Brooklyn side, I calmed down. I said, you know what? I know how to get back home. And I said, man, I'm going to get these guys back. I'm going to go and tell my uncle, and he's going to go and beat them up because they were scared of my uncle. But they still did weird things to me, which is weird. They still bullied me, but I never went back and told my family because I was scared I would lose my friends. I was scared that, they were the only guys to hang out with, But I learned a big lesson from that. And just go to show, man, that you have to learn how to train your mind and never panic and don't tell yourself bad things, especially to your children, okay? Especially to your children, because it's real vital. Now, I can't recall, my family saying bad things to me, but like I said, I was raised by 2 different factors. I was raised in my home, and I was raised in the streets. But the streets said a lot of bad things, and I grew up on hip hop music, and I love hip hop music. Another quick example, there was a song back in the early 90s, late 80s by KRS-One, which is one of my favorite rappers. It's called Love Is Gonna Get You, right? But there was one line that stuck in my head as I was growing up, going through school, right? The line went like this. It says, I pull about a G a week, F school. A G a week back then was good money. I was like, what? It's not bad. A G a week is not bad, as a kid growing up with nothing. And I was like, man, that stuck in my head. And I'm not blaming you, KRS, one of my favorites, and you still will be, but it's what you take from it. And I used that line, and I ended up doing certain things, that led me to a certain place. And me dropping out of high school, and it wasn't good. But be careful, okay? Be careful what you listen to, okay? One of my side hustles, I'm a mobile DJ, okay? And I love the culture. I love all genres of music. I play all genres of music. And I'm not going to knock what they say because that's what they do, all right? But it's up to you to take it and learn from it. And if you want to go ahead and let it sink into your head, don't do that because it will subconsciously, drive you to a certain place where, you're like, man, how did I get here? It's your inner talk. It's what people tell you. It's what we are unaware of, okay? And you must be aware of this, okay? So say good things to yourself. Speak good to your kids. Speak good to your friends. You know, don't say bad things to them. You know, if you don't mean it, you know, don't, you know, be careful what you say to yourself and to others, especially your loved ones. Okay? And with that said, like, share, subscribe. Have a great day. Peace.